Domo arigato, Geek Me Radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, Geek Me Radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, St. Louis. Welcome, geeks and nerds, boys and girls, and welcome points listening online. Today's Geek Me Radio, we are focusing on video games. We have Dan Clerke in studio talking about Maryville's eSports program. Later on, we'll be joined by our friends from the Toner Low Network, so stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
Welcome to another edition of Geek Me Radio. Today, we are joined by Dan Clerke from Maryville University's eSports program. We'll be talking about the program in general, eSports, where it's going, where it came from. And then later on, we'll be joined by our friends from the Toner Low podcast and network on Twitter, talking retro gaming all hour long. If you would like to call in with any questions, the line is 855-770-1260. Toll-free call from anywhere. And as always, you can tweet at us at Geeks Me Radio if you have any questions, if you're listening on the interwebs. Dan, thanks for coming in today.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
Pretty good.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in esports.
All right. I'm 23 years old, and I was playing Call of Duty in high school, and I was pretty good at it. So I started doing online tournaments, and I was doing really well. And I pursued that for a little bit, and then I went to Rolla for engineering school. Hated engineering school, and decided to go back after my passion and switch to Maryville and do business. And I decided to try to do esports business. I funded my own team. And it kind of just took off from there. And Maryville heard about the successes of my pro team, and they decided to go all in on esports, and it's been kind of a blessing since then.
Nice. So it's one of those things, if you can't do what you love to do, or I guess if you're not doing what you love, do what you love.
Exactly.
And the joke is, of course, with engineers, why can't engineers tell jokes? Timing.
Right.
So, and you said Maryville took you on, funded the program, and I think you said you got a full ride for heading up the team and everything like that.
Yeah.
And you guys were undefeated.
Yeah, we went 40-0 last year and won the title, and we're looking to do the same thing this year.
That's crazy.
We're going to set Wayne Gretzky level records before all the big boys come in.
Nice. So you've got your team in place. Do you have any new players on the team this particular year going into it?
So last year we had five recruited players for our League of Legends team. This year, so over the summer we were deciding whether we wanted to do Counter-Strike or Overwatch or some of the other games. We had probably 300 applicants trying to get into the esports program as a actual athlete, or athlete in quotes. And we actually just decided to go with one Hearthstone player and just kind of sit back and wait to see to the point where the talent pool will be able to produce another dominant team before we go into those other titles.
Now, the ones that were mentioned here on the website were League of Legends, which you said, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, Smite, Halo, Gears of War. Are these all going on at the same time, or is it each year is a different game? How does that work?
So we have kind of a varsity program, so to speak, with the League of Legends team. Those are the recruited players, and then the rest of the games that you see on the website, those are organically homegrown teams. So people that are at Maryville already that are kind of passionate about a game that would just like to compete, they're able to compete in those titles. But we have kind of our premier sector, which is right now just our League of Legends and Hearthstone teams.
Okay. And like we talked about before the show, when I was in college, I graduated in 98, and I had a Nintendo 64. we didn't have Wi-Fi in the dorms. So it's amazing in less than 20 years how vastly the landscape of this has changed, not only in college, but as far as gaming.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like it's the perfect storm where these things have hit all at once.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So when I played for a gaming chair and free Mountain Dew, and now players are playing for 18 million at the Dota International.
That is crazy.
So it's actually nuts. And the way Maryville ties into all this is since all this big money started to come in, a lot of players are pushing off college to try to go pro. Doesn't work out sometimes, obviously, but there's one player in particular on my pro team. His name's Otter. He put off school for 4 years, and much to his parents' dismay, he decided to go all in, created some drama there. And then with my team, he finally made it into the pro league, and I've never seen such like emotion come out of a player when like he finally made it to the pro league, and then in one split it was gone. We got relegated. So Maryville is kind of a baby of mine in the sense that it kind of bridges the gap where you can get your degree and compete, and it's not NCAA regulated, so players can actually pocket money from these tournaments.
That was going to be one of my questions too, is with all this stuff, people are saying, oh, the pro athletes, they get money, but the college athletes shouldn't be making that money. They should be focused on this, but they should get something. So this is not, there's no regulation. So if you're playing in college, in addition to getting a scholarship for playing and having your college paid for, you can also pocket some really decent money doing it.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So if you're actually really good, you can make probably 40 to 60,000 while you're going to school.
Wow! And I know we talked about some of the pro gaming people. You said some of them are making six figures a year.
Yeah, and in Korea they're making millions, and in China they're making millions, and that's where North America is headed, is towards that. It's actually crazy. I think a lot of the League of Legends players in the pro league are making more than Major League Soccer players, MLS players.
Man. That's what I could do, because I'm not athletic by any means, but I can certainly play some. So what are some of the other games you guys are looking to expand to and bring on to the I guess the curriculum, I guess you'd say?
Yeah, so I want to do Counter-Strike and Overwatch moving forward. Counter-Strike is kind of a tough game to judge, because the premise of the game is you're basically counter-terrorists versus terrorists, and you have to defuse a bomb or plant a bomb if you're on the terrorist team. So with the collegiate structure, I kind of want to see how the support comes in for that moving forward before I invest into a team on that. But Overwatch is kind of a more cartoony version for first-person shooter that's kind of blown up in the last year. It's made by Blizzard, and that was kind of their push to compete with League of Legends.
And I know I was, when I saw the website and I reached out to Maryville to talk about it, because I was very intrigued by the whole eSports and at the college level. I thought you were actually a professor. I expected a slightly older guy to show up, honestly. But you're actually a student there.
Yeah.
And they said they'll bring you on to head up the almost as a professor type status.
Yeah, so I'm going to be the head of the eSports program on staff. We're also looking to kind of expand and potentially create an eSports curriculum at the campus, which I'll probably have my hands in as well. It just depends on how much time I have, obviously, with this whole industry blowing up. But I'm just along for the ride right now. I'm going to see where it takes me. I'm going to focus on graduating this spring, first of all.
That's for the best, yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Right. It's just crazy to think about. Like I said, when I went to school, there was nothing like that at all. If you played video games, you were doing it in your dorm, and you're blowing off class to do so.
And you're a geek.
Right, yeah, exactly. Now, we talked about a little bit, too. We had a great conversation before the show actually started, how there's a little bit of a pushback from some of the actual, I don't want to say actual athletes, but, the baseball players, who on campus, who are a little upset by the kind of money you esports people are getting.
Yeah, so that's kind of been seen a lot across the campuses across the country that have kind of gotten esports. We kind of maybe even got a little bit of pushback at Maryville, but once the players meet our players and they realize that they're normal people and how much time they put into the game, our players put in 8 to 12 hours a day, including their class schedule. They kind of understand what's going on and how good our players actually are in the grand scheme of things.
And so there's no, some people might think, oh, you're playing video games. You don't have to actually be good or practice. Yeah. So do you have anyone with just like who's a natural talent? Are you one of those people who just you're naturally good at it, or is it something that you really do need to put in 8 hours of practice a day?
So we have both ends of the spectrum on our team at Maryville. Actually, we have a player named CKG. His name's Andrew. He barely needs to play. He didn't play it all over the summer, and he came back and he just started destroying everybody again. So there are players like that, but if you want to compete at the highest level, you have to have the talent and put the work in.
Sure,
the collegiate level is a little bit lower end of the spectrum, but we have high level kids in there, so it's a lot easier. But then we have another player named Prototype. His name's Marco, and he's in there 10 hours a day playing solo queue, and then he does scrims, and then he does the schoolwork.
Wow.
And that's just how he operates. He's like a robot. He doesn't. He wouldn't have it any other way. He just does it. He loves to do it.
So both ends of the spectrum. That's very interesting to hear. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with Dan Clerke from Maryville University's eSports program after this. We are back here on Geeks Me Radio. We are talking with Dan Clerke from the eSports program at Maryville University. And before we get back into that, I want to remind you that it is the Halloween season. Best time of the year, in my opinion. There's dress up, there's candy, the big holiday coming on November 1st, when the holiday is that all Halloween candy is half off at the stores. But if you're looking for something to do, something unique and different for the Halloween season, one of my sponsors, City of St. Charles, historic St. Charles, is hosting a Legends and Lanterns, which you can go and interact with different historical characters who have a haunted nature. I'll put it like that. You can check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Legends and Lanterns. And you can also,
when is that?
That is actually going to be Saturday, October 22nd and Sunday, October 23rd. And then it's Halloween weekend, Friday, October 28th, Saturday, October 29th, Sunday, October 30th. They have the hours up on the website. You can go to historicstcharles.com to check out more. Also the Facebook page. But if you like Christmas traditions, if you've ever been down to St. Charles for Christmas traditions, they've got all the historical characters walking around. They have all sorts of things going on that are related and fun and interactive to do. Now they're doing it for Halloween. So you want to get down there, check them out, Legends and Lanterns, facebook.com/Legends and Lanterns. And of course, historicstcharles.com. Very proud to have them as an official sponsor of Geek to Me Radio. So talking about, while we're talking about Halloween, scary video games. You said you love the horror-related games. We talked about Silent Hill, which was, I played that for the original PlayStation, and I couldn't sleep after playing it. It was that kind of, but I went back and played it the next day because it was so good.
And now games are just so much more immersive.
I know, it's ridiculous. So what's your, if you had to pick one favorite horror or monster-related game of all time?
Oh, man.
If you want to do a top 5, you can, if it makes it easier.
All right, top 5. Here we go. Amnesia.
Okay.
Evil Within. Silent Hill. BioShock is considered scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then probably the Resident Evil series.
Yes, which they're the movies alone. I mean, talk about video games being made into movies. So not only are they getting the money from the video games.
Have you heard about the new one?
I have.
So do you know what Amnesia is?
I'm vaguely familiar with it, yes.
So
I haven't played it.
It's a horror title where you have no weapons and you have no hope to fight your enemies. You just have to run and hide, and you have a lantern that runs out of fuel, and you have to find fuel and just navigate through basically an entrapment where you're just basically destined to fail. I think Resident Evil is trying to move away from what they were doing before, where you pick up weapons and try to solve puzzles, and they're trying to move towards an Amnesia almost feel game. So I'm actually pretty excited to see how it turns out.
That would be neat. There's a new game coming out. I think it's coming out, I want to say this month or next month. I can't remember the name of the game, but the concept is that you're in this dystopian future where everyone takes happy pills. And you end up not taking yours, and you have to try to navigate your way out. But everyone else, if you're not on the pill, it is out.
Yeah.
If you're not on the pill,
We Happy Few.
Yes, We Happy Few. Which I saw the previews, and it looks horrifying.
Yeah,
just the people smiling. It's crazy. And have you played it yet at all?
Oh, I actually bought it and I downloaded it, but I've been traveling so much that I haven't had a chance to actually sit down and play it. I'm so excited. That reminds me, I'm going to go do that today, actually. I'm going to go play it right after this.
I saw the concept and I saw the trailer online. I'm like, this looks so cool.
Yeah.
It could be a movie. I mean, the idea, and you have to I think you have to take the pills at some point, because if you aren't on the pills, the people who are can sense that you are and they'll attack you and beat you. You start at the very beginning of the game again. So that looks like one. If you haven't played that yet, We Happy Few, that looks like one that's worth playing for sure.
I'm the type of guy that, like, whenever I get a horror game, I have to turn all the lights off. I have to put on my Bose surround sound headset, and I just have to be completely immersed in it. I just really like being scared for some reason.
See, I wish I had more time to play. See, maybe I need to start doing it professionally, because I wish I still have an Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I haven't upgraded to the Xbox One, and there's so many new games coming out that I can't play now because, that looks great, but I don't have the time. I don't have the Xbox One to play it on.
New one just came out, higher storage capacity, better internals, and there isn't the gigantic power brick that hangs off of it now. Right. Just the cord.
Yeah, that's just the way gaming is going. So when you guys are playing at Maryville, what system are you guys on? Is it all PC? Is it Xbox? Is it PlayStation?
They've built us some really, really nice computers over there, and we have our own dedicated 1 gigabyte download internet. So
wow,
it's pretty sweet. I basically spend more time there than my home, because it's just if I want to try a game, I buy it and I can download it in 2 seconds and just play it. And we have Super Smash Brothers for if you want to like cool down from League of Legends. Right. We have other titles that we play. We have Hearthstone and just other stuff. So, and I have I actually have my PlayStation and my Xbox up there as well. So I'll just hop on there between my meetings and I'll play whatever.
So you guys, when you do the esports, there's not a specific gaming platform that's used in all of esports or anything like that? They don't prefer one over the other? Is it just basically a gaming type computer?
So I would say a majority of the prize pool. So if we were going to like quantify esports as prize pools, I'd say the majority of the prize pool is on PC. And then there's like Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War on console that are pretty big. And then surprisingly enough, the biggest console esport is Super Smash Bros. Melee, which is a 15-year-old game on the GameCube.
Yes.
And that gets probably 400,000 to 500,000 viewers for their big tournaments concurrent. So,
that's just one of those fun games to play. It's like I'll still go back and play Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, but the cool thing about Melee is that it's kind of a beautiful accident in the sense that Nintendo tried to create a party game out of it, but these professional players have actually found little glitches in the game, like wave dashing and L canceling, where you can you can actually animation cancel your character and take little fractions of a second off of how long it takes to perform an action. They've actually made the game so fast that the actions per minute in that game are like over 300.
Wow.
Yeah, so like when you watch like a professional play, their character will just be bouncing across the screen, hitting you when they shouldn't be able to be hitting you, and their hand, like there's like a stereotype in old movies when people are playing video games where you just see the people mashing the controller, and it's not really that way. Well, if you watch a Super Smash Brothers game, it's actually like that.
I'm a button masher. I will admit to being a button masher. We used to play in the Aladdin's Castle at Jamestown Mall. Any of you who are listening who are my age, Jamestown Mall, Aladdin's Castle, we'd go in there and play Mortal Kombat 2. And there are some people who are just like ding, 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 and you die immediately. And I'm hitting all the buttons trying to get a hit in.
Just hoping.
Yeah, exactly, because that's all you could do. And some of these people are just playing there like, yeah, whatever, nerd. And they're like dropping a quarter in, they're killing seven people. And I'm like putting like $10 into the thing to keep it going.
That's hilarious. You say that like you wish you were born a little bit later so you could have kind of picked the fruits of esports labor. I wish that I was born back in the arcade days. That would have been
See, grass is always
cool.
greener.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the arcade games, the old stand-up ones, still to this day. There's one, it's so basic, it's called Tapper. And it looks like you've got a bar tap for beer, and you've got the joystick. And basically you go up and down, there's 4 bars, and you're sliding beer down the bar to get the people out the door. And people keep coming in. You have to work your way up and down the bars. You have to get in and get the tip so that the dancing ladies come out so they distract some of the people. But the idea is to clear the bar, because if they get to the end of the bar, they'll grab you and slide you out the bar and throw you down and you lose a life. Very simple game, but so much fun to play.
That sounds awesome.
It is. Some of the old arcade games, man, you can't beat them. I think we're getting ready to go to break. Did I see you? Was that a 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you, Joey. In the next segment, we are going to bring in our friends from Toner Low Podcast. Do you feel like sticking around talking some more gaming?
Sure, I'm down.
And we might hit some more esports stuff as well. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to give us a call, 855-770-1260. That's a toll-free call from anywhere you are. And you can always tweet at Geek Me Radio if you have any questions for myself or for Dan Clark from Maryville University's eSports program. We will be back with a lot more right after this.
Hi, this is Greg Weissman, the creator of Gargoyles and co-creator of Young Justice, and you're listening to Geek Me Radio. Stay well.
That's right. We are back on air. Geek Me Radio. We are joined in studio by Dan Clerke from Maryville University's eSports program. And on the phone right now, we are also joined by Ron and TC from the Toner Low podcast and network. They do a series all about gaming. Guys, can you hear me okay? There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, you can hear us.
I cut out for a minute.
Perfect. Okay, good. Yeah. We've got Ron and TC on the phone, correct?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Hey, guys,
good.
what's up?
Hey, thanks for joining us. So I met up with you guys at Geekonomic Con in Oklahoma City, and you guys had your retro gaming display up. I literally could have spent the entire con sitting there playing on your gaming consoles.
We had that wacky wall of CRTs.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that what we had set up there was actually not even a quarter of what we could have set up. We actually came in way over prepared. We had another like 8 or 12 monitors to put up with a bunch of other consoles. We just kind of we got moved at the last minute, so we had to rearrange and adjust for it. But yeah,
it was a great setup. And by the way, say hi to Dan Clerke, guys. He's here in the studio with me.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing all right. How about you?
Hey, Dan, what's up?
Busy, but great. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah, no.
So Dan and I were talking before you guys came on about some of the old school games and everything like that, and I mentioned playing Tapper when I was coming up, and you guys had Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which is another one I sat down. I had, I think, out of the digit code, I think I was missing 2 numbers I had transposed, went right to Mike Tyson. That's another one of those games that I can just sit down and still play. Here it is, 30 years after it came out. What do you guys think it is about these retro games that still people love to play?
I think it's the accessibility. You don't have to turn it on, log in, wait for 4 different production screens, download the DLC, and hope your subscription's out of date.
There is that, yeah.
So when I'm on flights, I bring my DS with me, and I don't buy any of the current DS games. I go in their arcade, and I play my favorite game of all time, which is Mega Man 2. Basically all the time on flights, and I think what it is you don't have to get involved in like a 14-hour story. You can just get on and play the game, and you're just playing the game. Like that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
It comes down to, like, I mean, a lot of the older games, like the retro style games, it seems like people have kind of missed the almost simplicity of its design, and I feel like that's what caused a lot of resurgence in the indie scene in the last, 5-6 years. Has been something that people are kind of like almost wanting to recapture, not necessarily just the nostalgia and how it feels of it, but, something where they can recapture the moment of when they first played Legend of Zelda.
And to be honest, I feel like the mobile side has something to do with it too, because so many people play mobile titles out of the accessibility factor, but because the interface is limited, there's only so much you can do, so the games more or less have to focus on raw gameplay value. And I think that's driven a lot of people back towards retro games because that's basically the genesis of where that started.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, I think too a lot of, because we were talking, Dan and I said that I wish I was born 20 years later so I could take part in the eSports thing and do all this stuff, and he was saying the grass is always greener. He wishes he was born 20 years earlier because he missed out on all the arcade thing and everything like that, going to the arcade at the mall and pumping the quarters in the machine.
Yeah, now I have to like play in a stadium, whereas if I was born before, I could just go into an arcade and be like, all right, I'm going to kill this guy at Street Fighter. He's going down. And I'll just put the quarter in and stand next to him and just look him in the eye and be like, all right, it's over for you.
So Ron and TC, do you guys have a favorite, like I said, mine was Tapper. Do you guys have a favorite old school game that's your go-to game?
My favorite home console old school game is probably Super Mario All-Stars. My favorite arcade experience, probably Daytona USA.
Okay, yeah.
Because I've gotten into so many arguments and fights playing that game.
And not to mention, he also owns one of the original dual cabs for that
nice.
game. It's in his garage. So,
well, I got the one from the CC's Pizza in Little Rock that I grew up in. I got my first kiss in that machine. I got into my first fight over that machine. And I spilled pizza on it and stopped the guy from breaking into it in 1994.
Well, see, that's something you need, then that's actually a need, to have that in your garage. Yeah. That's nostalgia.
For me, I would probably say my favorite, old school or even retro style game, it'd probably be Link to the Past. I didn't really play it I was born in '87, and I didn't really start playing games until like the early to mid '90s, really at all. And Link to the Past was like my first experience with video games ever that I remember. So it's always had a special place to me. But for arcade experiences, I would honestly, I'm real simple when it comes to arcade. Lethal Enforcers.
Yes.
Or even what was it? The old cop version, the shoot 'em up. What was it? Wasn't Lethal
I think it was just Police Shooter, wasn't it?
I honestly, what was it?
Virtual Cop?
Yeah.
Virtual Cop, that's it, yes.
Cop, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm simple when it comes to arcade stuff like that. I would, just give me a little gun.
He likes his light gun games.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah, Lethal Enforcer. I didn't like the second one. The Western version wasn't as much fun, but the first one I played so many rounds of that at the arcade. We're going to take a quick break, guys. Hang on one moment. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back talking with Dan Clerke from eSports University Maryville and also our friends from Toner Low Network. Stand by.
Hey, this is Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley from Star Wars, and it's all geek to me, my friends.
We are back on Geek Me Radio. We're talking all things gaming this particular show, and we've got our friends from Toner Low Network on the line with us as well. Guys, talk a little bit about what you guys do exactly, what all your network entails, and how it got started.
Oh, well, okay, I was going to say, it started out with a few of us got together. TC used to have a game night every week that a bunch of our friends would get together. We'd hang out, all, get together, play card games. D&D was played. I mean, he had a projector upstairs. We had everything hooked up where we would play Smash on certain nights. We'd play horror games all night. It was just a gathering of friends, and then we realized that too many times we would stay out. Like, everybody would go home around 1 or 2 in the morning, and then you would have myself, TC, Kaz, and a few of us would all get together and just start talking about video games, or kind of like one individual topic, and we would sit there and talk for 2-3 hours. And finally, it came across that we've been trying to do a podcast or YouTube stuff for, in the better half of a decade, about 8 years now. And finally, we all got together and decided to make it work. We actually just celebrated this last Wednesday was our 1-year recording.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
So, thank you very much. So for the Toner podcast just reached a year old. And, we just love talking about everything nerd culture, really. I mean, it's video games, it's music, movies, comic books, everything we possibly can. And so, we do. We even have a wrestling show now.
Nice.
So because we know a lot of the, we know a lot of the pro and indie wrestlers in the area, so we get them on and we talk to them. We just kind of talk about the general wrestling scene, and and of course, our main show is where, a new movie come out or a new game comes out. We just kind of talk about it for a while and then, move on from there. And so we do that every week. And it's just been a lot of fun getting together with your friends and, kind of talking about it and actually making something of it. Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, that I never realized that there was so much overlap between the wrestling fans and the other geek realms and everything like that. It's kind of nice that you guys had that tied in.
It's something funny I noticed a long time ago. When you're watching Monday Night Raw, there's a lot of video game signs out in the crowd. You'll notice there's a lot of kids recording stuff or taking photos on their DS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's more or less the same community.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all nerds in some way.
I just think nerds have taken over the world.
Yeah. I mean, anymore, nerd culture has just become culture.
It's mainstream,
really.
right?
It's like even when you see the state of there is weird. I mean, at least I would consider it weird. I grew up in late '80s, early '90s when bullying was done by the jocks. Now bullying is just done by other nerds to the jocks because the jocks aren't the cool ones
You
anymore.
just go on Twitter and
Exactly.
put them
Yeah.
in their place.
Right?
Yeah. and Plus, yeah.
Slam.
Not that we want to endorse cyberbullying, but obviously it's made it easier for us nerds to do it.
No.
Exactly. I mean, eventually everybody realizes, like, hey, wait, I can say something against it.
Like, we've come a long way from, like, 1993 when I got beat up at Aladdin's Castle for beating a college kid in Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, see, that's one of those things. They don't like the jocks don't like to be showed up at anything. But
Yeah, and that's kind of been what's been happening with esports as well. So ESPN kind of one of their hosts made bad statements about just esports not being a real sport and that we're all nerds and that we're all virgins. So then they kind of had to do some damage control and actually host us on their station. But then their audience, of course, started coming after us. The sports ball jock stereotype started coming after our whole industry, and we just basically rolled over them in the span of a year.
There's more of
it's
us.
pretty well expected now.
There's more of us than there are of them. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, esports is something that I've been more and more getting into, especially lately. And it's a fascinating scene to me because, we're starting to see, the way the esports scene works now is almost entirely different from that of what you see in standard sports.
Yeah.
But people want to constantly compare them to standard sports when it benefits them, but also not compare them. You know what I mean?
Contracts,
when it
everything is
them,
different.
Yeah.
I know, Dan, you were saying that
exactly.
St. Louis is actually trying to draw more of you mentioned that St. Louis working on with the esports community, trying to bring in more people in the community and the city.
Yeah, so with St. Louis, there's kind of been a push for tech startups here in the past few years. We're actually one of the highest expanding cities in terms of tech startups. So esports kind of goes hand in hand with that, with the Rams leaving and all that stuff. They're looking for something new to be here, and esports might be that because a lot of the actual developers that have servers that the people compete on, they're actually in the Midwest now. So Riot, who made League of Legends, they actually moved their servers to the Midwest, and I think Chicago and St. Louis are one of the potential cities that LCS, which is their professional league, might even move to.
Oh, wow.
So if that comes here and we have weekly matches here that you can buy tickets to go to, I think we might be seeing a lot of movement in the esports space. Maybe STL will become a hub. I'm actually trying to create a city team, the St. Louis Blank. We don't have a title for it yet.
Just leave it like that. I like it.
The St. Louis Blank.
I think it's a great name.
But yeah, no, we're making a push to get some local VCs as well as some external VCs to the city to kind of come together and make this happen.
So how's the esports team scene looking in Oklahoma City, guys? What do you guys have? Do you guys have colleges that do the same thing there?
I know there's a team around the OU area, and our local pinball arcade down in Oklahoma City just set up a esports arena in their old pool area.
Oh, neat!
It's one of the best places I've been to in a long time.
Yeah, and I've been hearing in the background that is it Oklahoma City Thunder? Is that what they're called? The
Oklahoma City Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're pretty interested in the space too. So they might be starting something up out there as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I was going to say there's I believe it's Cactus Jacks, right? They set up I think it's Team RTZ.
Yeah.
They set up a whole esports arena inside Cactus Jacks in Oklahoma City, and it's incredible. Walking in it, you just feel like you're basically watching the main stage during the LCS or even one of the Dota internationals. Like they have the 5 and 5 pods set up at the back of the room where everything's it looks like team versus team.
Neat.
It's super cool.
Very cool.
I know in Norman we've got some of the best Smash Brothers players in the world. So
yeah, they're pretty good out there actually. The Midwest is kind of a wasteland for Smash talent. It's normally the West and SoCal and then tri-state area, but I know Oklahoma's got a few good guys out there.
Very cool. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back for our very last segment, wrapping things up in this all gaming edition of Geek Me Radio. Stand by.
Hi, this is Jonathan Katz, and you are listening to Geek to Me Radio. If you recognize my voice, it's probably from Dr. Kat's professional therapist, unless I was standing behind you at CVS.
Which is not at all creepy if he's standing behind you at CVS. This is our last segment where we wrap things up here on Geeks Me Radio. We've been joined in studio by our friends from Toner Low Network. And guys, do you guys want to mention something here before we sign off?
Oh, yeah. We actually did a pretty cool thing at the XPO convention here in Tulsa a few weeks ago. Have you guys ever heard of the Nintendo PlayStation prototype console?
I think I have.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a console that was built in, 91?
91. It was the original conjoined project between Nintendo and Sony to make a CD add-on for the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
But Nintendo abandoned the project halfway through, and they made 4 prototypes, only one of which survived. And we got to do the world's first Let's Play on it, on hardware with video capture at XPO.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we did an actual live Let's Play on the floor. We got all of our equipment up there and set up, and we got an interview with Terry and Dan. I was going to say, so Terry and his son both, they found the console, and, I think it was some sort of like estate sale, and like he got it in a lump group and ended up found it like 10 or 15 years after the fact.
Yeah, and they apparently got Ben Heck, and they got in contact with him, and he helped them source parts for the CD-ROM drive to get that working again.
Yep.
Wow, that's
so,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
It was just really cool. It's something that not a whole lot of people have ever played in the world, and let alone ever done a Let's Play of. And it's an old retro console. And we love playing those games, so we figured we had to.
Absolutely. And if you want to check them out more, you can go to Twitter at Toner Low Podcast. And your website, guys?
Yeah, it's tonerlow.org.
Tonerlow.org for more. And you've got all your videos and Let's Plays and everything like that there and interviews. And Dan Clerke from Maryville University eSports, you want to give a shout out as well?
So I just got a message on Twitter from John Badov, one of the Enemy fans. So Enemy's my professional team. He wanted to know how Payne and the guys are doing and if we're going to win the World Championship this year. I know we had a bad split, John, for the summer split. But I can assure you that the boys have been in the dojo working out all the kinks. We haven't been posting much content because Worlds is our biggest priority moving forward. And I'm 100% confident we're going to be at the World Championship and qualify. And I think that we're gonna hold the cup up this year. So it'll be a good year. And for Maryville, I just wanted to thank all of them for just taking my passion and running with it and bringing esports or becoming one of the 4 founding members of an esports program on the collegiate level and giving my guys that would probably never be able to pay for college a chance to go to college while doing what they love. It means a lot, and it's a blessing every day. And shout out to my mom.
You got to get the mom, exactly. And so, yeah, guys, everyone, thank you for coming on. Gaming is one of the things I haven't covered enough of on this show. So, Ron and TC, we'll have to have you back on at some point to talk a little bit more retro gaming.
Anytime you guys want.
Thank you very much. And Dan, thank you. We're going to check in with you problem. As the season goes on to see if you maintain your 40-0 record from last year. That'll be impressive.
Sounds good. We're setting Wayne Gretzky records out here, baby.
Excellent, excellent. And then you go to Korea if you get the big win.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. And if you want to follow us, it's at Geek to Me Radio on Twitter and Instagram, geektomeradio.com for the website. Make sure you check out Legends and Lanterns out there in St. Charles, historicstcharles.com. We'll be back next week with more on Geek to Me Radio.
It's not in the way you watch a zombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
You stay classy, Planet Earth.